Tonight, of a series of government-sanctioned raids and military crackdown, JoyNews checks reveal alarming destruction in Tano Area Forest Reserve as illegal miners pillaged the forest. We'll be live on the ground. Also tonight, CLOGSAG rejects Labour Minister's plea to call off strike as it intensifies demand for removal of birth and death registrar.
Say enough is enough. Now let's purge a system of politically correct people, because the Supreme Court ruling was clear. Once your political calendar becomes overt, you cannot be part of the services. That's the local government service and the civil service. And this is Supreme Court ruling and it's law.
Plus, fresh details following the latest investigative hotline documentary as illegal paint producers flood the market with toxic lead-laced paints as state agencies dodge responsibility and deflect blame.
Twofold. On one hand, one could assign responsibility and thereby liability to the standards authority. But that is when the lead is locally manufactured. But where the paint is legitimately imported under the regulatory control of another agency, it creates a hiatus.
Environmental Protection Agency and Standard Authority, because this thing is about standards.
So what do you look out for when buying paints on the Ghanaian market? We have details for you, plus business.
Total value of Ghana's economy crosses more than 1 trillion cedis for last year, despite growth slowing for fourth quarter of 2024 to 3.6%.
And in sports, in Swatraman suffer home defeat to Samatex on their return to the Ghana Premier League since fatal stabbing of Asante Kotoko fan in Swatri.
And later in our Ghana Man series, we uncover the fascinating story of Bantama, the origins of his name and his deep cultural influence.
One of the sub-chiefs of Kumasi, he was called Ba. He left his piece of cloth. Anybody that passed by identified that cloth as Ba's cloth.
You want to stay with us for all that, plus more here on Newsnight. Send me a WhatsApp 05511111997. My name is Evans Mensa. After a series of government-sanctioned raids conducted in the Tano Area Forest Reserve, JoyNews checks have revealed some groups continue to mine in a forest located in the Owen municipality of the Western region. A joint military and forestry commission raid at the site saw the seizure of 10 excavators and 1 bulldozer yesterday, while some of the miners who evaded arrest have been seen tracking the equipment across the Tano River. Others are still mining. Love FM's Irasa Sari Donko will join us pretty shortly. He's been there. He has the very latest on this developing story. But the government, on the back of the revelations, have issued a statement in the last few hours. And we can give you details of that. Aveji, we know that the government has been doing a lot. They've made some arrests. They pulled the details out a couple of days back. What more do we know?
Well, Evans, the Rapid Response Unit members of the Forestry Commission and some 30 military men stormed the Tano Anua forest. You know that has been on our radar for quite some time now in the Enchi Forest District of the Western region, and in the process they seized some 9 excavators, 1 bulldozer, and 4 persons have been reportedly arrested in compartment 17 and 20 on Sunday, 9th March 2025. Now, prior to this operation, on Tuesday, March 4, 2025, operational staff from the Enchi Forest District of the Forest Service Division of the group, together with the Rapid Response Team, upon a tip-off, also stormed the forest days before this present one and drove out 12 excavators that were undertaking illegal mining operations in there. Now, the Forestry Commission team was unable to effect any arrest because they were outnumbered, and the miners who were on site before the team arrived were armed to the teeth. And on Thursday, 6 March 2025, while everybody was celebrating the Independence Day, based on some intelligence, again, miners were planning to return to the forest reserve, and the team returned and prevented re-entry of the illegal miners. That's not all. On Saturday, 8 March 2025, the team, upon another tip-off at the that the illegal miners had returned to the reserve, went there to effect arrest, but once again They were outnumbered, and the miners were again heavily armed to the teeth. Now, this evasion was widely reported on social media. Subsequently, the team was dispatched to the forest reserve, and some excavators were seized in the process. Now, the seized equipment are being evacuated to the arrest, and are being evacuated from the forest, and a formal complaint has been made to the Enchi District Police Command to take some action on that event.
Well, Erastus has returned to the ground there, and he joins us on the line right now. Erastus, you're finding that the miners are back?
Well, it's not like they are back, but they never left. And I'm referring to 3 groups who were left behind, who managed to evade arrest, because I am, per my information on the ground, the escort who led the military men did not take them to these camps. And so they evaded the arrest, and as at today in the morning, they were still mining in the forest. I have drone footage which shows about 5 excavators on site mining. Some of them have also been able to track their excavators across the Tano River, and they have parked them on the other side of the river, waiting for the operation to calm down so they return to the forest. So that's the update as we have them with drone footage this afternoon.
If you can deploy drones to detect what is happening and the fact that the miners never left, the authorities surely should have information too. You get a sense that they are committed to rooting them out from the forest reserve?
I want to believe so, that once the military regiment is still on the ground, it means that the authorities have that information, and that is why they are still hanging around to finish the job. That is my inclination. But let me also say and put on record that there are other forest reserves within the Western region area as well, which still have some Chinese and Ghanaian miners within it. One is Bantama Forest Reserve, and the other one is the Datano Ohiampenika section of the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve, which has been besieged by miners for some few days now. And so the expectation is that once the military has started this operation, we are monitoring to see whether they will clear all these people from the forest reserves.
But you make a very important point when we first started this conversation, that these miners never left. But the military had invaded the place. The government had dispatched the task force to root them out. They evaded the arrest. When you say evaded the arrest, is it that the task force were not aware that they had evaded and obviously were just biding their time to return?
My information on the ground indicates that the escort who led the military men, the military men do not have the navigation prowess to enter the forest and know where mining activity is going on. That is why they did this in collaboration with the Forestry Commission. I'm reliably informed that the escort did not take them to these camps, and that is why we still had these remnants of the groups still mining in parts of the forest reserve.
Erastus, keep safe while on the ground there reporting for us. I want to bring in Dr. Ken Ashigbe, is the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining convener. He joins us on Zoom right now. Doc, thanks for your time here on News Night. It appears to me that the more you campaign for more than 8 years, the less things change.
Well, thank you very much, Evans, and it's good to see you. It's been a while since I saw you. It's really heartbreaking to see that it's as if we're back to where we were in August last year with the former president, because you look at this current situation. And Evans, those equipment that are in that forest, how did they get into into the forest? How is it that nobody was able to get this to happen? How is it also that we, on a particular, when they went on a particular day, they were outnumbered, they were outgunned? This is the reason why in our petition to His Excellency, the current president, we've asked for the state of emergency. You have a situation where some of your forest reserves are no-go areas for the workers of the Forestry Commission. Yes, we've seen the minister and all the forays that are taking place. But definitely, if we don't deal with this thing as decisively as we ought to, if we don't deal with the situation, the fact that politically exposed persons are behind a lot of these things, I was going to say it would get out of hand, but it's gotten out of hand. And so it is important that His Excellency the President should realize the fact that the forest reserves, the water bodies, this declaration of the state of emergency, is going to be very critical so that we do this and make sure that we are able to consolidate those spaces. Then we can be thinking about the other things that we do to sustainable mining. But in this current situation, we had petitioned him about the Awin MP. He's acknowledged receipt of the document. We don't know what is happening. There was a situation where an MDC constituency chairperson was also accused by one of the large-scale miners of involved in an illegality. And when you see things like this, it just tells you that there are people who are close to power, who have a lot of influence, who would be able to do this. 8 excavators, a bulldozer, and all of that. Those are not things that people of straw like my type, would be able to do. And so we need some decisive action. And His Excellency the President needs to declare the state. The more we see this, the declaration of the state of emergency, it's going to be important.
And give me your assessment on John Mahama's position on what to do with the mining equipment. He says seize them, do not ban them. As we've just been hearing from Erastus, the illegal miners, they are tracking the movement of the seized equipment and they are planning to retrieve them. Is that effective?
So you see again, so if the president wants these equipments to be not burnt and all of that, then he should be providing superior power to those forestry reserves people, because again, when you look at the forestry law, it talks about the fact that for the forestry official, they are supposed to ensure that in the forest reserves, they prevent crime from being committed. So if you get these forestry commission people who go into these places, who do not know how to even move these excavators, who might not have any low beds, who might not have any equipment to be able to take them out of. When you leave them, these criminals would come back at night and be able to come and, put them back into action and continue committing the crime. The other thing that we need to realize is the fact that for all of these excavators that we're talking about, you don't need that much excavators to be able to do your roadworks. What you need are the dozers and all of that. So these excavators, it will be difficult for me to say currently that the forestry people should be able to move them out as quickly as possible. So I think that when it comes to the forest reserves, and if you take the forestry law, it empowers the forestry commission people to be able to do everything to ensure that they don't continue committing that crime. So I think that the president should be able to allow that when it gets into within the forest reserves, because you see, Evans, this equipment costs 200,000. It's the reason why these illegal miners will say they will track them and get them back again. So the president should allow for the forestry commission people, once they find these equipment within the forest reserves, they should be able to do everything that immobilizes them, including, pouring salt into the engines, doing everything that immobilizes them, that prevents these criminals from using them. Because, another thing they do, once you find the equipment in the forest reserves, you are able to, based on that law, be able to deal with it. But once they track it and move it out of the reserves, the forestry commission people are completely incapacitated. They cannot do anything about it. And so it is important that as the president talks about don't destroy, he should leave a window for the forestry people to be, once they find these equipment in the forest reserve, be able to immobilize them, destroy them as best as they can. But the other thing about it is that even the amount of excavators that are coming into this country are far more than we need. These are equipment that have become equipment of mass destruction. So we should be asking ourselves, who are importing this equipment into this country? What roads are they intending them to be used for? Because even when they immobilize them, we should be able to take their VIN numbers, the chassis numbers, and to be able to prosecute all to the point of the persons who brought them into this country, who they sold them to, who they rented them out to. It is really important. And we will need the judiciary to work together with the executive to make sure that we deal with this current situation, because these excavators, the damage that they are causing to us, and not only the damage so far as the Galamsey is concerned, Evans, if our people, military and all go and they are outgunned by these criminals, what would happen when this gold runs out? We are cultivating a national security crisis that we need to be able to deal with as decisively as we.
Thank you very much. That Dr. Ken Ashigbe there is a media coalition against illegal mining convener joining us on Zoom there. You want to join us later tonight on PM Express. We'll be talking to Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, is the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology on the same subject. The NDC had a position on this matter when they were in opposition, the government now, keeping them honest. What has happened since the new government came into power, dealing with the illegal mining menace? You want to join us as we track back and ask the hard questions on your behalf. That is 9 p.m. on the JoyNews channel. Now, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana has rejected a plea from the Minister of Labour, Jobs and Employment, Rashid Pelpo, to call off its strike, maintaining its demand for the removal of the Registrar of Births and Deaths, Samuel Adoboche. Now, since CLOGSAG declared its strike on February 20, the Minister has engaged the association in discussions to resolve the impasse. Now, however, CLOGSAG has insisted on receiving an official response to its petition before considering any negotiations. My colleague Collins Frimpong joins me in the studio with the minister's response to CLOGSAG's petition demanding the removal of Samuel Ado. So we know that there was an articulation of a government position on the subject. We heard from the government communications lead, Felix Kwachifosu. What's the minister's position now that we know clearly what CLOGSAG is asking for in the official response that they are demanding?
So the statement issued by the sector minister, Dr. Abdul Rashid Pelpo, dated back to March 7th. And he acknowledges the receipt of the petition from CLOGSAG regarding the appointment of Samuel Adombochwe as the Registrar of Birth and Deaths. And the minister states that the discussions have been held with relevant stakeholders to address their concerns. And he also acknowledges that the issue is not about the president's appointments, but the appointment powers, but rather concerns the appointees' perceived political exposure. And he also assured them of their concerns being noted, and also urging the association to reconsider its petition and reconsider the decision and call off their two-way strike.
Well, we're hearing tonight from the CLOGSAG and its leadership. They are very clear that they will not reconsider their position. Executive Secretary is Isaac Bampuado.
Any political colored person who is in the civil service must get out. Because it used to be the case that when there's a change of government, what the political activists, what they fight over are toilets. But this time around, we also what happened. They were chasing our people from the offices, locking the offices. Next time around, what do you think will happen? And why are they doing that? Because they are seeing their colleagues in other parties working in our offices. So if I see my colleague, an activist for another party, working in civil service office, and then I can also be there. So that's how come they attack our offices. So we say enough is enough. Now let's purge a system of politically correct people, because the Supreme Court ruling was clear. Once your political calendar becomes overt, you cannot be part of the services. That's the local government service and the civil service. And this is Supreme Court ruling and it's law. Now, on the strike action, the National Executive Council of CLOGSAG met today to have a look at the response from the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment on our petition to him concerning the appointment of the Registrar of Births in the name of Mr. Bochwe. And after going through the response, NEC came to the conclusion that the response for the minister does not meet the concerns of CLOGSAG, and therefore the strike action must continue.
Well, there have been accusations that the CLOGSAG strike has been influenced by political interests. Well, Mr. Bantama dismissed that.
Alhaji Jaula, a former chief director in the service, was asked to resign or face disciplinary proceedings for appearing on a platform of a political party. Since this ruling, our members have been sacked. So it's not an issue that this ruling is not being implemented. It's been implemented. Our members have been sacked. So if our members have been sacked for flouting this ruling, how can we also allow a politician to flout this ruling? And they cited the Supreme Court ruling to sack our members. Yes. So why didn't you also flout? And we'll be going to court, we'll be doing this thing. We said, no, this time, this thing must end, this thing must stop. We all have one Ghana. We all have one Ghana. And the civil service is a key institution in developing Ghana, a key institution in developing Ghana. That's why the principles underpinning the civil service is anonymity, permanence, and neutrality. We are there, day-to-day administration. Government go, government come. We are there. We are permanent. We have the institutional memories. And this is for development of Ghana.
You're still listening to News Night here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, tonight, the Ghana Standards Authority is going on the offensive. It follows the story we brought you in our latest Hotline documentary. We discovered the dangerously laced lead paints on the market. Illegal paint producers indeed are thriving, selling highly toxic paints, while state agencies should blame instead of enforcing regulations. A joint study by the American researchers and Ghanaian regulators uncovered alarming lead levels in paint sold across the country, with some containing up to 200,000 parts per million, over 2,000 times the safe limit. This silent threat puts countless households at risk, especially pregnant women and children who face severe health dangers, including brain damage. Our latest Hotline documentary, American Paints, the painter's Galamsey, exposes this growing crisis and the urgent need for stricter oversight. Here are excerpts.
Across Ghana, homes are adorned with vibrant colors, creating landscapes of blues, reds, and yellows that reflect the spirit and resilience of the people. Freshly painted walls signal new beginnings, a cherished space, or a family's legacy. Yet, beneath this colorful surface, a dangerous practice is spreading, threatening both the health of citizens and the integrity of Ghana's local paint industry.
There are people mandated at the ports to check and make sure that things that are not allowed to enter the country don't enter the country.
As the demand for paint grows, so does the troubling rise in substandard paint mixing in local markets. Many shop owners, lacking proper oversight or safety standards, are blending inexpensive and unregulated materials, often producing paint that contains harmful substances, including lead. These cheaply made paints have flooded the market, enticing consumers with their low prices, but coming at a hidden cost.
We do have lead in paint, but it's ultra low. And in 2022, the GSA and its technical committees reduced the content of lead in paint for painting houses and domestic use by 90%.
The consequences don't end there.
Sometimes the paints are even expired or about to be expired. They put it on us, reduced to clear.
Drive down through the business districts of Accra or Kumasi, and you are sure to be greeted with makeshift retail shops busily trading an array of bright-colored paints. It is what the people now want because they present a cheap but dangerous alternative to them. They call it American Paints. The worrying concern, however, is that these paints are not certified by the Ghana Standards Authority. Professor Alex Dodu is the Chief Executive Officer of the authority.
What is happening? We have paints, whether imported or mixed around the corner, but not certified by the Ghana Standards Authority and therefore not approved for use, being offered for sale under the brand American Paints.
There's tough war between the regulatory authorities on whose duty it is to ensure these imported paints are fit for purpose.
is twofold. On one hand, one could assign responsibility and thereby liability to the Standards Authority. But that is when the lead is locally manufactured. But where the paint is legitimately imported under the regulatory control of another agency, it creates a hiatus. We have written to the Ghana Revenue Authority to change that classification.
This is a position that the Environmental Protection Agency agrees with. Lovelace Sapon is the EPA's technical officer on lead.
We developed a regulation, it's a draft regulation, and when it is passed by Parliament, it will also make it illegal further to place leaded paint on the market.
We need to check every paint that enters the country that will not harm pregnant women, children, and even grown-ups. And the danger is the ones that they even come and do the remarketing. Sometimes the paints are even expired or about to be expired. They put it on us, reduced to clear.
JoyNews investigations reveal widespread compromise at the ports, which allows the paints to be brought into the country. Some freight forwarding agents who claimed to have facilitated this move reveal how to sneak the paints into the country and avoid the payment of the statutory duties. In 2013, an investigation commissioned by the United Nations Environment Programme revealed that some household paints manufactured in Ghana contained high levels of lead. In a related study, out of the 46 paints analyzed on the Ghanaian market, the team found out that 15 of the paints contained high lead levels. This is a sharp increase compared to the team's data collected in 2023, where 6 out of the 59 paints analyzed contained high levels of lead. The acceptable lead level in Ghana should be 90 ppm. However, of the 15 high lead paints, 5 were found to be new brands on the Ghanaian market. Also, 4 paints that were less than 90 ppm in 2023 were now above 90 ppm. The highest lead content found in one of the paints stood at 200,000 ppm. Dr. Charles Cranche is head of product certification at the Ghana Standards Authority.
Lead is an example of a heavy metal. Now, these metals, once introduced into the body, it takes a very long time. One, they're able to bioaccumulate. So then if you paint your room and the paint contains lead, you'll be exposed to this lead over time. So then it can result even in a neurological damage. There's also, you can even have some of your organs impairing. And even when it comes to children under 6 years old and pregnant women, it has its own detrimental effects.
But EPA's technical officer on lead, Lovelace Sapon, says since the observation was made, some local manufacturers have worked on the lead levels in their paints.
They are aware that leaded paint is not safe and that they no longer produce it and it is obsolete. It appears that we can take their word for it to a large extent because the data we found was not too worrying.
But the concern has to do with retailers of foreign oil-based paints, which are not regulated by the Standards Authority.
That's what I'm telling you, that they should not be cheap. I've bought paints in America. Paint is not cheap in America.
We can now speak to Professor Alex Dodu. He is the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority. He joins us on the line right now. Prof, I'm grateful that you could join us. In the morning when I listened to you on the back of this investigative piece, you promised that we will get a list of approved paints on the market, especially for customers who are going out there unsuspecting, who may become victims to this very dangerous product out there. Do we have it yet from the Standards Authority?
Yes, we do. As we speak in Ghana, we have local manufacturers 28, sorry. Telcos, BBC, Azar, and the rest. We'll put the entire on our website and definitely also post it to you. So 28 local manufacturers of paints and varnishes. I can easily go through the list, in bits and pieces.
Yes, that will be helpful.
News. Okay, I'll take it easily. Steel Coat Company Limited, BBC Industries, Crown Technology, Shine Star, Innesfly, Country Paints, Golden Coat, Hexagon, Hazard Chemical, Wood Chemical, News, Kokubuedu, Easy Paint, Rainbow Paint, Hexagon again, and Mega Paint Company Limited. What we have agreed to do as an authority to support consumers is one, to put the list together with the products they produce, because most people remember the companies by the brand names, and also to indicate when the certification would expire. As I stated in the morning, the GSA is categorical that the regulation of paint falls under where there are hazardous chemicals involved. Definitely EPA will do its step. So we do accept that responsibility as ours, and we do what it takes to find that. In addition to the list I've read for you, we have over 10 importers, at least as of 2024, because every year the permit to import, not the permit, we call it the registration as an importer, would expire. So as we speak this year, the list of companies we have that have come through as importers is at least 49, and we are just created that way so that we put the full list together out, because it's only in an atmosphere of more information provision to the consumer that he or she is protected.
While you do this, though, those behind the illegal paint importation and the constitution of its parts, with all the dangers that it poses, somehow must be tracked down and stopped. We found evidence, we filmed them, we know where they are. Are we going to see a crackdown?
100%. 100%. This morning, expose for your report. My team and I have met. We have been in standard. We don't have enough white. That's a fact. But of the 100 or so that we have, we send them out. They were on other products, but this has come up, and we must take action. We must tend to be taken immediately.
And this is as immediate as tomorrow?
This is as immediate as tomorrow. There comes a time when the opportunity to ensure that the sector is clean comes up. Much as we've been doing our job, your report is categorical. Yes, we did most of the testing and provided evidence, but the evidence that we have generated on the circulation of substandard paint is meaningless if we do not take the necessary action. Some of the action would lead to those causing the infraction going to court, but that is why the courts are there. We believe that in the matter of public health, it's legitimate actions that are taken transparently can only be for the society.
Thank you very much, Professor Alex Dodo there. He heads the Ghana Standards Authority. You can check the list on the website of the Ghana Standards Authority. Check the list before you buy. If you can find the paint you're interested in on that list from the Ghana Standards Authority, you're better advised not to buy, because it possibly could be one of those so-called American paints filled with lead that may be killing yourself and your entire family at home. And George Affe is joining me right now with a business. And when we return, we'll tell you the origins of the name Bantama. And I learned that this morning, George. Very fascinating indeed. It sounds pretty simple, right? Ba and Tama, as in Ba's cloth.
Ba's cloth, yeah. Ba and Tama.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, We'll tell you details and bring you that right after business. George, we are all waiting, counting down to the
for
to
tomorrow,
the budget.
and
a very important one indeed for the government. The first one for the finance
and
minister.
for a lot of people, whether government will go ahead to scrap all these tax measures, and when it talks about rationalizing the tax structure, what would that mean in terms of doing it away or bringing some in form of levies as well? And so rationalizing it is quite huge, and what will mean for you and I in terms of the whole tax structure.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to that. A lot of analysis tomorrow, George, myself, and you. But of course, as we know, you've been giving us exclusive details as what to expect. It's obvious government is going to keep its word. The finance minister is going to keep his word when it comes to some of the things they're planning to do in terms of the tax handles that will go. They are finding very creative, ingenious ways of plucking those holes that will be left after they've scrapped them. So some very fascinating insights into that, and we're waiting to hear the details tomorrow.
Well, events coming up in business. Government set up an economic policy coordinating committee to bridge the gap between fiscal and the monetary space, as details will be contained in the 2025 budget. And total value of Ghana's economy crosses more than 1 trillion cedis ending last year, despite growth for the fourth quarter of 2024 slowing to 3.6%. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Interstanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal. Welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, government is expected to set up an economic policy coordinating committee to help bridge the gap between fiscal and the monetary sector. Finance Minister Dr. Tuforson, who announced it during an engagement with the youth on Twitter, that is X, formerly Twitter, noted that details will be captured in the 2025 budget.
To coordinate strongly between the fiscal and the monetary. And some of the things that will engage our attention is how to reduce the dollarization that we are seeing going on in our economy.
Well, the minister has also been talking about plans to review how the energy sector recovery levy is collected, as well as restructuring of Bantama oil refinery.
For the Bantama oil refinery, yes, we will recalibrate the ESLA as part of the budget, so we should expect to see some recalibration of the energy sector levies. But again, let me also say that the minister responsible for energy and green transition has the mandate to find a better way to deal with the Bantama oil refinery. I've seen his plan, and in the coming days, we'll be announcing government's plan for the Bantama oil refinery and many others.
And that is the Finance Minister, Dr. Tuforson. Now, a respondent in the 2025 pre-budget survey put together by the United Nations Development Programme Ghana and auditing firm KPMG are calling for a framework document that would guide the implementation of the 24-hour economy. They also argued the program could succeed if it focuses on industries that naturally thrive around the clock operations. Now, partner in charge of markets and clients, KPMG Kwame Sapon, has been explaining to Joy Business ahead of the budget presentation.
So the 24-hour economy is one that has come out very strongly by respondents as one that they look up to for economic turnaround, right? And specifically, I think what they're looking for is a framework and a practical implementation approach to it. I mean, particularly if you look at it, basically how it's going to create jobs, right? So it's looking for people to be more efficient, use more time, basically doing a lot more with people. So I think predominantly there's a lot of goodwill for the 24-hour economy. Secondly, people are asking for a framework to support the specific actions that are required to implement this 24-hour economy. I mean, countries that have implemented 24-hour economy predominantly, I think, is based on activities that can run around the clock, right? So if you look at some services that, for example, manufacturing, if you structure yourself very well, you can produce within 24 hours. If you also provide the infrastructure for certain critical things like even agriculture.
Kwame Sapombani is partner in charge of client and market at accounting firm KPMG Ghana. Now, the total value of Ghana's economy in monetary terms reached record levels ending last year. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service showed that it has now crossed more than 1 trillion Ghana cedis. James Shin Fairs has more on what actually caused the slowdown in growth for the fourth quarter of last year to 3.6%.
The service sector continued to be the largest of the Ghanaian economy, with a share of 47% of gross domestic product at basic prices. This is followed by the industry and agriculture, having recorded a growth rate of 30.8% and 22.2% respectively. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim.
In the last quarter of 2024, in current terms, GDP oil estimate was 331 billion Ghana cedis, and in constant terms was 53 billion Ghana cedis relative to 51 billion Ghana cedis that was recorded for the same time in 2023. From a GDP at basic prices perspective, we continue to see the dominance of the services sector, with the services sector contributing 49.2% of the GDP estimate in the last quarter of 2024.
Under the industry sector, mining and quarrying subsector as well as oil and gas sector saw some contraction, which affected overall growth of Ghana's economy with negative 8.2 and negative 8.7% year-on-year respectively.
All recall that the mining and quarrying subsector until the last quarter of 2024 was doing very well from the perspective of the extractives. So in the first three quarters, we saw positive influences both from the mining and quarrying and the construction subsectors perspective.
Also, the cocoa subsector under the agricultural sector continued to trail for the fourth time in a row, with negative 21.4% contraction in the fourth quarter of 2024. Meanwhile, information and communication expanded the most within the services sector, with health and social work on the fourth quarter of the year. James Shen's report for Joy Business.
And to other stories, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiema is expected to chair his first Monetary Policy Committee meeting later this month. Now, a statement from the Bank of Ghana announced that the meeting will start on March 26th and to March 28th, 2025. The new rate should be announced on Monday, that is March 31st, 2025. The governor had already indicated that they are working on several reforms that would actually change the way things are done. He has also promised that they'll be holding some private sector engagement post the Monetary Policy Committee meetings, as well as some annual engagement with some critical sectors in the economy.
Each time we send those reports to Parliament, we are happy to engage in a town hall with the private sector. We will be there. All of us will be there, the members of the Monetary Policy Committee, we will be there, and we are happy to take questions from the private sector. But in doing all this, let me emphasize again the need to coordinate affairs with the fiscal authorities.
Correct.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiema, and our global shippers community across launched an initiative that is My First Job Accelerator program to provide national service personnel with critical soft skills needed on the job market. The initiative is aimed at tackling the persistent high unemployment rates faced by service personnel after they complete their mandatory service. Project lead for the My First Job, Joel Anaman, highlighted the significance of this project.
We are piloting this and it's just limited to 100 people, but we are really thinking about scaling this up, right, with the necessary support that we are going to get from possibly funders like MasterCard Foundation, the World Bank, and all of that. But the main thing here is that if you're happy about not getting a job after going through 4 years of gruesome education, then that's absolutely okay. But if you are really looking forward to applying your skills, being able to build an income for yourselves and your family, then My First Job becomes an opportunity for you. However, we are looking at scaling this up. So this is limited to about 100 people. We've done a bit of recruitment already. We are looking forward to scaling this. So in the coming years, we look forward to opening it up so that all national service personnel are able to join and benefit from this immense program.
Project lead for My First Job initiative, Joel Anaman, and that's all for business on News Night.
And Joel, thank you very much. And we are looking ahead to tomorrow. You're going to be live from Parliament. I'm going to be in the studio. We have this covered multiple angles. We're going to have people across the country in markets watching with the market women what Dr. Kayslato Forson will be saying and the budget, and a lot of expectations ahead of tomorrow. What's yours on business?
Well, I'm looking forward to how government will be trying to close the revenue gap, and also when it comes to cutting the expenditure, apart from what the has told us that the wasteful expenditure, which other areas he would cover, because you look at the budget and it is quite rigid. So which areas are you going to touch apart from capital expenditure?
And that is what some are calling autonomics, as in how he manages to do that. And from everything I'm
and
hearing,
don't forget the biggest elephant in the room, the IMF program as well.
Yeah, and we'll see some very interesting maneuvering in the budget tomorrow. And talking about expectations, George, we're hearing from the TUC, the Trade Union Congress tonight, and they're demanding a living wage in the budget. And this is on the back of the 10% hike that they got recently. So let's get some clarity on this. My colleague, Papania Shalis, is with me in the studio. They have a statement out tonight ahead of the budget.
17-page document.
That's a lot. But let's focus on the big ticket item there when it comes to wages.
Yeah, so Evans, on that specifically, they said the 2025 budget must have policies and programs to address the twin problems of low pay and rising inequalities. The most sustainable way for the TUC to address the issues of low pay and these inequalities is for Ghana to adopt a living wage to replace the current minimum wage, unify the public sector pay structure, and abolish Article 71.
Okay.
That's how that section
abolish
ends.
Article 71. Let's bring in the Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Kwabena Inyako, to join us on the line right now. Doc, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Do I get the impression that you're putting this out ahead of tomorrow because you want the Finance Minister to do something about this demand in particular? Too late in the days, you know.
Okay, so thank you for having me, and greetings to your listeners. So, this statement has already gone to the...
Apologies, we're having a terrible connection to him. We'll try and re-establish contact, hopefully on a better line. When you're talking about wages, you must have a good, clear line to have that conversation. And Mr. Cranton is joining me with sports. Oh, you're not interested in talking about wages?
Very interesting.
Okay,
Very
so
interesting.
we'll return to that shortly. Hopefully we can get him on a better connection. But what's in sports?
Well, Samatex forward Mohamed Munkeli's second half strike sealed a 1-0 win against Nswatriman earlier today in Nswatri. The defeat was Nswatriman's 9th in the Ghana Premier League, which resumed this weekend following a 4-week break following the tragic stabbing of Asante Kotoko fan Poli in Nswatri on March Day 19. The defending champions Samatex have had an inconsistent season, but this win was their 6th of the league season, moving them up to 9th place with 27 points. Nswatriman, following the loss, dropped to 14th on the league table, just 3 points above the relegation zone. Moving on, the Ghana Weightlifting Federation elections was thrown into controversy on Saturday with the proposed exercise eventually ending in a no-show. Incumbent GWF President Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib dismissed reports that the injunction was served to halt the election, stating that neither he, the Electoral Commissioner, nor any weightlifting official had been formally notified of such an order. However, presidential candidate of the said election, Michael Niyaboy, explains to Joy Sports the process that led to the stay away.
The Constitution demands that you will have a 21-day notice for an elective Congress to be held to choose the next president. The guidelines for the elections only came up on the 18th, but the 21 days notice fell outside of the 4 years tenure. Now, how is it that your tenure ends on the 18th and you want to have an elections after the 18th of February, 8th of March, and you will still want to hold yourself as the president, and the board members want to still hold themselves as board members?
presidential candidate of the Ghana Weightlifting Federation election, Michael Ni Iyaboy, speaking there. It's now just 3 days to the Joy Sports National Dialogue, a thought leadership program aimed at shaping the future of sports in Ghana, scheduled for Thursday, March 13th, across all English-speaking platforms on the multimedia group. The event will focus on governance, funding, and infrastructure, bringing together experts to provide insights and solutions. You don't want to miss it. That's all for sports. Back to you, Evans.
Thank you very much. I want to return to Dr. Kwabena Nyako, is the Deputy Secretary General of the TUC. Ahead of the budget tomorrow, the TUC is demanding a living wage to replace the current minimum wage. Joins us on the line right now. You were explaining why this isn't too little too late, considering that the budget is a short few hours away.
Okay, so my point is that, hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so this statement has already gone to the Minister for Finance somewhere last week, but we've also been having conversations long before today during the wage negotiation processes and all of that. So we've hinted government and we followed it up with our own position paper on diverse range of issues, from economic management issues to agriculture, to employment issues, industrial relations issues, the wages and salaries, but also pension. So as you can see from the state, so it's actually not too late in the day.
You already accepted a 10% hike in wages. Is that my understanding that you consider that a living wage?
We don't consider. So the 10%, we all aren't happy, but we also know the current situation of the country. So, and as the president himself appealed to it, that there's a challenge with the economy. We all need to help, sacrifice to overcome those challenges. And once the economy begins to get revamped, we will all see and share the difference from that. So we weren't happy with the 10%, but we did it also as part of our contributions to salvaging the situation.
So you're not expecting a living wage announcement, the replacement of the minimum wage with living wage in tomorrow's budget?
We are expecting. This is a policy area. The budget is supposed to communicate a policy. We have had a policy of a minimum wage for many years, since about 1963. And we think that minimum wage policy isn't helping. And that we want government to take the bold step to announce a policy towards adoption of a living wage.
If you don't get it?
We will continue to dialogue with government. But we are in early days with this government. And this is not the time to issue ultimatums and all of that. But we will continue to dialogue and continue to advocate for the adoption of the living wage. Because we can't live in a country where we see the kind of wage inequality and everybody is silent about it. That we just recently heard that at SRC within the public sector, somebody is earning 70,000, whilst on the single side, another person 800 Ghana. The level of inequity is obscene, it's unfair. And it is in the interest of the president and of his government that has advocated or actually clearly announced that it is in a mode to reset. One area to reset is the wage landscape.
Well, thank you very much. The Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Kwabena Nyako Otu. Well, if you've recently visited the Ashanti region, you would be remiss not to go to Bantama. Many say it's the soul of Ashanti heritage itself. It embodies the royal history, rich traditions, and vibrant culture. From legendary landmarks to its enduring legacy, Bantama remains a symbol of pride and power. In today's Ghana Man series, Irabana Akwe uncovers the origin of his name and the timeless influence of this historic enclave.
Nestled in the inner circle of Asante monarchy, Bantama is a vibrant town that echoes the history and culture of Asantes. Established in the 18th century, Bantama served as a settlement for the Akan people and quickly evolved into a center for trade and cultural exchange. The neighborhood's strategic location facilitated access to the bustling market of Kumasi, making it a hub for commerce and social interaction. Bantama is one of only 3 thrones in the 33 Asante traditional areas succeeded through the male line. There is no queen mother to the Bantama stool, as with other Asante matrilineal stools, and the Bantama Hene serves as the war marshal of the Asante Hene. Eja Treme is one of the living elders who has spent all his life at Bantama.
Bantama is headed by Isahine. The throne is inherited by sons born to the chief during his rule.
You will also locate the Center for National Culture and the Royal Mausoleum, where Asante Hene lie in state before being transferred to their final resting place. Monarchical historian Osebonsu Safokantanka shares the history of the origin of the name Bantama.
One of the chiefs, sub-chiefs of Kumasi, and he was called Ba. He left his cloth, his piece of cloth, somewhere. So Ba's cloth was left at that place for a very long time. So anybody that passed by identified that cloth as Ba's cloth, Ba's piece of cloth.
Bantama is not just a neighborhood, it is a living exhibit of Kumasi's historical narrative, cultural wealth, and economic vitality.
Well, you've heard the name, now you know its origins. Bantama, Ba's cloth. My name is Evans Mensa. Enjoy the rest of your evening.